Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here and welcome back to the channel. Now today what I've got for you guys finally is another DCTV Crisis on Infinite Earths video. Now that all of our season finales for the year have aired and we have all of our Crisis teasers to speculate on until we get even more news and info in the coming months, I thought it would be a good idea to go over all of the teases that we got within our DCTV finales this year, so let's go in order of appearance and start off with Arrow. Within the last 10 to 15 minutes of the Arrow Season 7 finale, we time jump to just before Crisis on Infinite Earths and see Mia's birth followed by a bit of Oliver and Felicity just enjoying life as new parents, until it is all interrupted by our favorite mutton-chopped space god, Marnovu aka the Monitor. He just shows up and does what we all suspected, basically says, "Sup bro, I'm the Monitor, remember our deal about balancing the universe and Crisis and such? Yeah, I've come to collect. Sorry that you just had a kid and you seem really happy and all, but time to make good on your promise. Oh yeah, and BT dubstep, inexorable and unavoidable, you die in this crisis, sorry about that mate." I do think they ended up changing his voice modulation ever so slightly. It's not quite as deep as it was during Elseworlds, but he is still pretty menacing. And again, such an emotional scene to follow here, where we do have our goodbye between Oliver and Felicity before Oliver had to go off with the Monitor, presumably to start on his Crisis journey that, according to Novu, will ultimately end in his death, as we all did suspect as well. So not only was the goodbye between Oliver and Felicity a great send-off for her character in the present, but also a really emotional way for everyone to kind of say goodbye to Emily as a series regular going into Arrow's final season. Even though the scene did seem pretty straightforward, like Oliver is just going with the Monitor to fight in Crisis and then sacrifice himself, I think there is still a lot more to it. Over in the future, our final scene of the episode and the season is a nice heartfelt goodbye and passing of the torch from the present Team Arrow members to our new members, Mia, William, Connor, and of course Zoe, but where the stuff really gets interesting is with Felicity's goodbye at Oliver's grave to Mia and William. She says that she has fulfilled her promise to watch over them until they could take care of themselves, says a really sad goodbye, and then the camera pans over to the grave, revealing that Oliver does in fact seemingly die later this year, sacrificing himself just like the Monitor said. But the biggest oh my Bebo moment came at the very end of the episode, where Felicity is walking all alone down this really dark and creepy street and says that she's ready, and then none other than the Monitor shows up to take her away to, I guess, wherever Oliver is through this portal breach thing, meaning that Oliver may not be dead? Question mark? I have absolutely no clue what is going on here, some crazy stuff for sure, but what I do know is that my guy has not aged a day in like, what, 20 plus years, so the Monitor must really be a god, am I right? In all seriousness though, I think this does confirm that Oliver is actually still alive in the future well after Crisis in some form or fashion, and doesn't actually sacrifice his life in the traditional sense. To the outside world, the Green Arrow may have laid down his life during Crisis on Infinite Earths to protect everyone he loves, but for those who know, Oliver may have ended up going with the Monitor after Crisis to continue holding up his end of the deal. Something I mentioned quite a while ago was the possibility of Oliver joining some sort of multiversal Justice League put together by the Monitor in order to help keep the balance as the multiverse wills it, and who knows, wherever Novu took Oliver and eventually Felicity in the future, maybe that's where he ported the 90s Flash to within the Elseworlds crossover, just adding him to his Justice League Dream Team for Crisis. This would make a lot of sense as to where Oliver goes and why he isn't around in the traditional sense, as well as where Felicity would be going, so I'm thinking at the very least Oliver isn't dead, if you know what I mean. So overall, other than a few unfortunate missteps, some pacing issues, and a pretty obvious rewrite in order to properly say goodbye to Felicity, very good finale to a really solid season of Arrow, and I can't wait to see what happens within this final season with Crisis and everything leading up to it. For those of you that are like me and kind of confused as to what the direction of next season of Arrow would be, we do have a little short synopsis that was released at the CW upfronts, which I did cover in that video, but I'll go over it real quickly again. It says, and I quote, "In the wake of discovering what his future holds, Oliver will find himself pit against his most challenging battle yet, one that will leave the multiverse hanging in the balance. In Arrow's final season, Oliver Queen is forced to confront the reality of what it means to be a hero." So I feel like the best direction to take next season is that we get our search for a multiversal Justice League with Oliver and the Monitor at the helm right off the bat in season Season 8. So buckle up, kids, because we're not in Star City anymore. Oliver could be going along with the Monitor in his search throughout the multiverse, trying to find different heroes, Bebo, the Star Labs Roomba, and even villains worthy of fighting alongside them within the impending Crisis event against the Anti-Monitor. I know that we've already had confirmation of the continuation of the future storyline. Some of those characters are returning, some are returning as season regulars and everything, but I just feel like this could make for such a cool and different final season. Oliver could meet alternate versions of all of our main cast, as well as explore the multiverse that he has now sworn to protect. This could also be the way that we see the return of many legacy characters like Tommy Merlin and more. But with this option, not really sure how they would do a present-day story with Team Arrow, or a future story like I mentioned with the new team, but I'm sure they'd figure it all out. Stephen Amell has already confirmed at a recent convention that Crisis on Infinite Earths has already started and will continue to build up on Arrow, as well as the rest of the DCTV shows before the crossover, so that could be another point in favor of this type of Season 8 focusing on just Oliver and the Monitor. But having Season 8 as an Oliver and the Monitor buddy cop multiverse road trip show would be absolutely insane. Some crazy stuff on the Arrow front for sure, but let's move over to The Flash with a bit more of a straightforward tease, or I guess a couple of teases for this incoming Crisis. In our final battle between Team Flash and the Reverse, just after telling Barry how he could try to save Nora, and he threw out that line that in many ways she has shown him what it's like to have a daughter, Thawne said, "See you in our next Crisis," and then sped away in his Thawne fashion. This was followed up later in the episode, right at the end, with the Time Vault newspaper completely freaking out and Gideon saying that there was an incoming time flux as the date and year on the Crisis newspaper kept changing until it eventually wound down to 2019, but we can't quite make out the actual month and day. So these two teasers, there isn't really much to break down, it's pretty straightforward, but they do tell us that Thawne will be back for Crisis, as we all suspected, and that Iris will end up writing the Crisis newspaper later this year, as well as the event has obviously been moved up. Not quite as crazy as the Arrow teases, but still really cool nonetheless. Real quick, while we are still on the subject of the Flash finale, just wanted to mention that Ralph was, in my opinion, the MVP of the season for putting all of the pieces together in Thawne's plan. Great job, Ralph, for showing why you are definitely worthy of your spot on Team Flash. So now let's move over to the Supergirl finale. One thing I wanted to mention before getting onto the Crisis teasers within this episode, when Red Daughter was absorbed back into Kara after saving her, we saw that Kara's heat vision did end up changing from blue to purple. So does this signify that she has just been supercharged by Red Daughter, or was Kara not at full strength this entire season, with part of her missing in the form of Red Daughter? This is something that I did think about before the season even started, that maybe Red Daughter being split from Kara would weaken her a bit, but now that she is whole once again, is she back to normal strength or supercharged because of her new abilities that Red Daughter had? Definitely something pretty interesting to think about going forward, but within the Supergirl finale, we had two scenes with the Monitor, one setting up a villain for next season, that being Martian Manhunter's evil twin brother named Malefic, as we did see him brought to Earth to get revenge on his brother Jean for something that happened in their past. It seems like Malefic may play a small part in the Monitor's plan, maybe to prepare Jean and Kara for the incoming Crisis, with this dude as the villain at least for part of next season, in addition to whatever's going to be going on with Leviathan. But then the second scene was the one that everyone was talking about the most before and after this finale, after being shot and killed by his sister Lena and revealing to her that Kara was in fact Supergirl this entire time. Our boy the Monitor approaches his dead corpse and starts creating some sort of breach portal thing that is most likely going to end up reviving Lex, as he will be needed by the Monitor for the Crisis event coming towards the end of this year. Maybe they will take a page out of the comics and have the Monitor put Lex in charge of putting together a team of villains to fight against the Anti-Monitor. That would be really cool to see come Crisis time at the end of the year. And then one final little tease came with the Legends finale, when we had everyone at Hayworld just doing their thing, and then the camera pans over to the crowd, and who do we see there just chilling and enjoying the show? Your boy Marnovu was just there at Hayworld chilling in the back with the Book of Destiny, eating some popcorn, just observing the Legends, and I guess trying to see if they are ready to partake within the Crisis event. Absolutely loved this appearance by the Monitor, literally just standing there menacingly, eating his popcorn with the Book of Destiny, silently shaking his head in disapproval of the Legends, just taking it all in. Well done, Legends, well done. But with that said, that's just my take on all of our Crisis teasers from each of our DCTV finales this year. Personally, I can't wait for this crazy event, 5 hours over 2 quarters, so I just want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. Which teaser of the 4 was your favorite? What other theories do you guys have surrounding Crisis? And are you excited for this year's crossover even more now after these little teasers? I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. But one last thing real quick here at the end, there is this image floating around of a supposed leaked Russian Crisis on Infinite Earths poster with Black Lightning on it. Here's the poster, not sure really what to think about it, if it's real or fake. I did look up the translation for Crisis on Infinite Earths into Russian, and it does check out on the poster, but it could just be really good fan art because a lot of these poses from the characters we have seen before, but the official poster shown off at the CW upfronts did reuse a lot of old assets too, so who knows. I'd say it's probably 50-50 at the moment on this poster. It could be real or just really good fan art. Either way, it is pretty cool, and it does get you thinking about the possibility of Black Lightning actually being in the Arrowverse after all. So let me know what you guys think about this poster, if it is real or fake, or if it has already been confirmed one way or another and I'm just completely unaware, as well as let me know if you guys would be excited for Black Lightning to join in on the incoming Arrowverse Crisis. But until next time guys, it's been Tazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.